Hello everyone, this is Gary Jenkins. This is Bermondsey Daily Message, beautiful words from the beautiful book. Bermondsey is blooming, not just the trees that are coming into leaf, not just the late flowering daffodils, but hundreds and thousands of tulips which are blossoming all over Bermondsey thanks to the Greener Bermondsey project. Last November, 10,000 tulip bulbs were planted across Bermondsey. Here's a picture of some being planted outside St James's Church in the churchyard after church in November. It was all part of a project in commemoration for something that happened 100 years ago. 100 years ago, Ada Salter created her Bermondsey Beautification Committee. It had the task of making Bermondsey a more beautiful place by planting trees and wildflowers and plants throughout the area. 100 years later, we're remembering Ada and we're giving thanks for all that she did through this project where 10,000 tulip bulbs have come into flower this spring in Bermondsey, and wonderful they look. When we planted those bulbs back in November, 6 inches down in the soil, covered them up with the soil and left them for months, nothing happened, or we could see nothing happening. And then there were the first sprouts of life to be seen. And then there was a whole plant. And then eventually there was a beautiful blossom. Because all through the autumn and the winter and the early spring, growth has been occurring in the soil in a hidden and secret way until finally the plant appeared. It reminds me very much of this parable that Jesus told in Mark's Gospel. He said this is what the kingdom of God is like. A man scatters seed on the ground. Night and day, whether he sleeps or gets up, the seed sprouts and grows, though he does not know how. All by itself the soil produces grain, first the stalk, then the head, then the full kernel in the head. As soon as the grain is ripe, he puts the sickle to it, because the harvest has come. The kingdom of God is like this, says Jesus. It's like a little seed, and you can't see it growing. And night and day, whether you're asleep or whether you get up, the seed is growing, and then it sprouts, and then eventually there's harvest. Just as it's been with our tulips. They were planted, they were left in the soil. Night and day we carried on with our work. Night and day they were growing, and then they sprouted, and then they bloomed beautifully. Jesus says the kingdom of God is like this. God's work is going on all the time. You often can't see it. You may not be aware that it's happening. You may not understand exactly how it's happening, but it's happening. God is at work. God is advancing his kingdom. Often it's hidden. Often it's secret. But then eventually it becomes clear what God has been doing, what God has produced. And then there is a rich harvest. So be encouraged, if you're a Christian, that God is at work in your life, that God is at work in this place, Bermondsey, that God is at work in this world. His kingdom is advancing. It's like the man who scatters seed on the ground. Night and day, whether he sleeps or gets up, the seed sprouts and grows, though he does not know how. all by itself, the soil produces grain. God's work is going on. He's sown his seeds. His kingdom is advancing. And a great harvest will eventually come. Thank God for his work. Thank God for his kingdom. This has been Bermondsey Daily Message, beautiful words from the beautiful book. Join us for another message from another location in Bermondsey on Friday.